It's live on a Tuesday. Going to have an interesting show because in the last 2 days, Brian Callahan and Will Levis contradicted each other. And that could be a little bit of a deeper issue than just a loss to the Colts, just going to 1-4 on the season, as both the quarterback and the head coach have different viewpoints and said different things about the health of the quarterback's throwing shoulder. So we're going to go through this, play some video for you guys about the contradiction. Zach is back after his move in the new spot. We're going to have a good show and get his reaction to the Titans' loss to the Colts on Sunday as they get ready for the Buffalo Bills, who were winners last night on Monday Night Football in a very entertaining game. But the Titans have a couple really tough opponents because the Lions are after the Bills, and the Lions just wiped the floor with the Dallas Cowboys on Sunday as well. So we've got some Brian Callahan, Will Levis conversation to have, and then we have throwing shade to end this Tuesday show. So Zach, welcome in. Hope the move has gone as smoothly as moves can possibly go. And you got your internet like Sunday at like 9 p.m. is when you're like, hey, internet's up, but haven't tested it yet. So here we are.
Well, yeah, we'll test it today. Here's
We'll do it
Google. Here's to Google Fiber, which I installed half of it, I feel like, because the guy didn't know what he was doing. There's some start off shade. You was like, mood, did it go as well as it could have? I'm now you just thought of a new shade. So I've got a couple of shade. When you move, there's always going to be some shade. It's not going to be rainbows and butterflies. So a lot to get to. Excited to be back in the saddle. Excited to hear the reaction from the chat on what the Titans season now represents. We are broadcasting live on 3 different platforms, including Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Keep you locked there. We will tweet out segment by segment, link by link on our Twitter handle at A to Z Sports. That's at ATOZ Sports if you're a Titans fan. If you're an NFL fan and maybe you've given up on the Titans, there are other teams that you can learn about on A to Z Sports NFL. So just go to A to Z Sports NFL on Twitter. Follow us there on X, whatever you want to call it. And you can move on, or you can join us each and every morning and talk about the ups and more downs of the Tennessee Titans, but a lot to dive into as we broadcast live. YouTube, best way to view this show, our live streaming shows in the morning, prime time, and game day. So make sure you subscribe first and foremost. After you subscribe, make sure that you ring the bell and get live alerts when we go live. And then third, make sure you like this video. It helps the algorithm distribute it to more Titans fans, Colts fans, AFC South fans, any fan out there that will enjoy this show. So like the show, subscribe, and hit the live alerts. Facebook, what's going on? Facebookers, bottom left corner of your screen. Sharing out of public. Sharing is caring, and caring is sharing, as they say on this show. So share the show around. We need to pop up in your Facebook friends' newsfeed. So let's get this party started on a Tuesday as the Titans 1-4. Tough scene.
Yep, let's do it officially. Welcome into A to Z Sports, powered as always by the BetMGM app. I'm Austin Stanley. He is Zach Bingham. We are Nashville's on-demand sports network, going live weekday mornings at 8 Central Time on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Links to the show segment by segment on our Twitter X timeline. Also hit us up on Instagram, TikTok, and Threads. Follow us there at A to Z Sports. Got to thank our sponsors. They make it happen for us, and they make it happen for all of you, like Wilson County Hyundai, WilsonCountyHyundai.com, to make them a part of your new car buying process in Lebanon. The Bone and Joint Institute, boneandjointtn.org, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. Farm Bureau Health Plans. Get better with Farm Bureau Health Plans by getting a better health coverage plan for your situation using our link, fbhp.com/ATOZ. And to TDOT, keeping Tennessee beautiful, and you can all be a part of the solution to help stop littering in Tennessee by visiting NobodyTrashesTennessee.com. So the Titans are 1-4. Yesterday, Sam and I walked through a lot of the Calvin Ridley conversation. I'm glad. This is one of those moments where I'm really proud of the A to Z audience and the viewers that watched, because it was like 88% people that said fair for Calvin Ridley to call out not getting the football early in the game to get going, and what he did in the locker room after the Titans lost to the Colts on Sunday. Easton and I talked for an hour post-game about dropping to 1-4. Zach, what is your feelings, your reaction to the Titans losing to the Colts, 1-4 in the season, 0-1 in the AFC South. How are you feeling?
Well, I as we kind of started the season with this, I kind of hedged in the sense of, you kind of bet on a young quarterback in Will Levis maybe struggling with the early season schedule. And we've seen this. Now, has he struggled in maybe the way that I foresaw that at the beginning? I would say no. I think he's made more boneheaded mistakes in the first 5 games than I would think, but that's gotten them to 1-4. And I thought the Titans were probably going to be a bad football team this year. That's why I predicted them to win 7 games. I really kind of, my gut said 6, but we'll find out what that ends up. But here's the fact is that game, and every Titans fan knew this, you hadn't played a divisional game yet. The first game is against a backup quarterback, being that you could argue that Flacco's maybe better than Anthony Richardson. It's at home, and you had an opportunity to win. And if you win off of a bye week, and and that gave Levis even more of an opportunity to heal up, and we'll talk about that more for this conversation. And you kind of botch it away. And I think the hard part is that I never really felt when they got behind, and the Titans secondary, Snead in particular, got his lunch eaten. And that big downfield plays, that's what they went and traded and spent money on the secondary, is to avoid that, is the big downfield plays. And once they got behind, I had no faith in them coming back and winning. And I think and this has nothing to do with them losing. It does hurt on a singular drive. You get 2 turnovers that get called back by penalties. And then we all know it's confirmed DeAndre Hopkins was held. That's a pass interference call to extend that drive. Now, there is always going to be, gripes with the refs. If you watch the Jets-Bills game, right, and Aaron Rodgers and what he said, you could say that. But it's not a winning football team. And a winning football team, you have to learn how to win. You have to have that core. A head coach has got to lead a team to a win. A quarterback has to lead a team to a win. A defense has to make defensive stops to lead a team to a win. And they're not very good at every facet of football. Very good, right? And I'm saying, like, all they're trying to be is like grow average, slightly above average, and they're not that. And they've spent a lot of money. So my last comment before we move on to today's topic is about Calvin Ridley. It is absolutely fair. The 80% was absolutely correct. When you pay a man $20+ million per year, you have to throw him the ball and get him involved no matter what. And you've seen glimpses of what Calvin Ridley can do for your team. The reason why you signed him is because of his stellar season last year, right? That was a huge catalyst to steal him away from Jacksonville and have him be a part of your team for at least 4 years. Get him involved. And I thought he was actually, I he didn't pull any punches. I think I would have dropped more F-bombs if I was him after that game. Because, I think you guys said it, 0-0-0 across the board, including his number. That cannot happen from an offensive-minded coach and an offensive-minded football team that just went out and got offensive-minded players, whether the offensive line, whether the wide receivers. Thank God for Tony Pollard, which here's my pat on the back. I called TP 80+ days ago. Tony Pollard is that dude. That is the only shining light, I feel like. I mean, there are some subtle glows, but the shining light is Tony P coming to actually give a ground game, but it is overshadowed. That shining light is overshadowed by how bad the offense is, by how boneheaded Will Levis plays at times, and then the defensive performance in the back half. So that's my 2 cents. 1-4 is going to get you a better draft pick than better playoff positioning.
Yeah. Here's the number, and Easton Freeze did a good job of laying this out on A2Zsports.com. I'm actually going to drop this link in the chat real quick because this was not a planned topic, but I think it's pretty good that here is the Titans point differential in each of the quarters so far this season. First quarter, Titans +4. Second quarter, Titans +10. Third quarter, Titans +14. Fourth quarter, Titans -21. So
winner games won in this league.
Now the fourth quarter, the Titans have scored 12 points in the fourth quarter so far this season, and a lot of them came against the Miami Dolphins in the one game they won.
And I'll say this, fourth quarters in the NFL, they can not only decide playoff teams, but they can decide if you're picking top 5 versus winning the division. Like, that's how important playing fourth quarters properly and putting your team together, everything coming together and mounting a drive to get points. And the Titans have struggled to do that on numerous occasions. And on those numerous occasions, they've lost the football game.
I'll take it a step further. There's a reason why they call it the witching hour on NFL Red Zone. Fourth quarter is also either get you a contract extension or lose your job too. And so there's a lot to get to on this, but let's go ahead and dive into our topic at hand, because setting the table, there is a contradiction between quarterback and head coach. So the quarterback says one thing, the head coach says another thing. And I think this shows that there's might be a deeper problem between the head coach and the quarterback when it comes to the health of Will Levis's shoulder. I want to get to all of this. We've got video to play. I've got data. I've got opinions, and I've got a theory overall that we're going to dive into on this show. But first, we'll tell everybody about our friends at the Bone and Joint Institute, boneandjointtn.org, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. Whenever you get hurt in life, you have to know who you can turn to, who you can trust to get back on to the playing field of life, to not sit on that sideline and just have that injury bother you for way too long. So you can do that by visiting their main campus in Franklin off I-65 and Highway 96. You can book an appointment online at boneandjointtn.org. It's super easy there. They have all the experts and the resources under that one roof. Once again, book an appointment when you need them online, boneandjointtn.org.
A to Z Sports, we are powered by BetMGM. Download the BetMGM app today. They are the sports book born in Vegas, right here in Tennessee. If you're in the state of Tennessee, make sure you use that bonus code ATOZ Sports when you sign up. You can get great offers, promo codes, bonus bets. I turned a $10 bonus bet into a plus 200 win. Nice. That's free money, baby, right? And so BetMGM, they're helping you out. Download the app today in your Apple or Android app store.
All right, so we played this video on the postgame show. We did not play it yesterday because I wanted to save it to have a really good conversation about what I thought. And we were also able to hear Brian Callahan's response at his Monday press conference. But here is Titans quarterback Will Levis Sunday after the game when asked specifically about the interception he threw down the right sideline, a deep ball that was short and scooped up, picked off by the floating center field safety, about that throw in particular. Post game.
On a pick, Will, did you feel like you maybe just wound up putting too much air under it on that?
Yeah, I think I could have given myself some more depth away. Peter came up, told me he got a little push, but I can't let that be the reason for a pick. But that was one of the throws today where I kind of felt the lack of arm strength or whatever, where I feel like a healthier day, I'm putting a better ball on it on more of a line. So it's frustrating. We were able to get the ball back and still get an opportunity after that where we didn't make it work. But yes, that's a throw I'd like to have back for sure.
He flat out said on a healthier day, right? And I thought that was pretty wild. Now, then we hear Brian Callahan. That was Sunday, just logistically. The head coach talks, then the quarterback talks. Then the next day, the head coach talks again. And so the head coach was asked about what the quarterback said, which was about his comment about on a healthier day in the shoulder overall.
Will said that the shoulder was not 100%, but it was healthy enough for him to where he felt like he could go out and win the game.
Yeah.
But then he also said that on the interception, he felt like that had his shoulder been better, he could have made a better throw.
Sure.
How do you balance that, and what kind of was the situation with his arm yesterday?
Everything leading up to the game and in practice and everything felt like he's good enough to make the throws that he needed to make to win the game. And I didn't have any reservations necessarily about that. I didn't think there was any real ill effect. I mean, I knew there was going to be some pain. That's just part of it. I appreciate him trying to manage that and fight through it for his teammates and for our team. I didn't see anything that would have made me feel like he wasn't able or willing to actually be able to play at the level he needed to play at. That throw at the interception, he had pressure kind of in his face, and he couldn't quite get everything into it anyway. I don't know that an arm strength or a healthy shoulder would have made much of a difference, truthfully. But he's whatever he had to say is how he felt. But I didn't feel anything going into the week that would lead me to believe that he wasn't ready to.
That's a flat out contradiction, right? Because you hear the quarterback say, on a healthier day, maybe I can get more on that. I wish I could have that throw back. And then the head coach said, truthfully, I don't think that's the case. I didn't think anything from the week. So, Zach, what's your just thoughts on just the flat out contradiction? And there is a whole night of sleep. There's probably multiple conversations between head coach and quarterback from after Will Levis said that and before Brian Callahan said that on Monday. What's your thoughts on those two guys being on different pages with those answers?
Well, diagnosing the situation, and I think it starts with Brian Callahan saying Will Levis is our quarterback if healthy, right? Yeah. He supported his quarterback. That's the future, at least of this season, that Will Levis is going to play if healthy. Rudolph is not the guy. He's not the franchise guy, right? Like, they're going to play Will Levis if he can. Went through a week of bye week, went through a week of practice, got treatment. Brian Callahan, I thought, was honest in the sense of everything that he saw led him to believe that Will Levis was healthy. You got to kind of take him as his word. And Will Levis played the entire game, right? He didn't come out. I did not see anything that, like, he wasn't making those weird faces again, right, on the sidelines. Yeah. So everything aligns there. Then you have a situation where a play happens, an interception happens, and essentially they lose the game because of it, right? I mean,
it was a part of it. It
was a big part of it, right?
They had multiple opportunities down 3 points to do as little as they possibly could to kick a field goal to tie it. And that was a missed opportunity. Yeah.
Right. Missed opportunity, underthrow, poor throw, right? Yeah. Pressure. And yeah. I think that they're grabbing for straws, to be honest. I think there is a contradiction in what they said. I think we obviously heard that, but I feel like Will Levis is the type of guy that says, Coach, I can play. Let me play. I'm okay. I will give it my all. I'm a competitor. Give me the rock. I need redemption. I've got to prove to myself and this team and this city and this league that I can play. Put me in, Coach. And then you get put in, and then you make a bad throw. And he had multiple bad throws. That was not the only bad throw of the football game from Will Levis. And then you have Will Levis saying that maybe it was my shoulder. Kind of sounds like an out to me, right? Because you cannot sit here and say you're okay to play, and then when you make one of, I would say, 5 plays that cost the Titans the football game, that being one of it, being an interception towards the end of the game, that tells me everything I need to know. You can't sit there and make excuses, and we'll get into this, after a bad play, right? Like, that is leadership, right? Now, that may be truthful and honest, but you can't say one thing and do another.
So I think it's interesting because Will Levis said, yeah, my shoulder, or Brian Callahan said, he had pressure and he couldn't step into it. So it's like,
Levis addressed the pressure to start his clip, right?
Yes.
And this is, I think, a problem. Not a problem. Will Levis is not going to throw his offensive line under the bus. Those guys got to block better, so I don't get pressure. The head coach, he's never going to say that.
Yeah, right. But the head coach,
Will Levis is never going to say that. So, like, that was off the table.
Yeah, right. I just think it's interesting that Levis said, yeah, my shoulder, I felt it on that one. I'd like to have that throw back. Where Callahan, the head coach, said, well, I don't think it made a difference because he had pressure in his face and he couldn't get into it anyway.
Well, Callahan can be honest, right? Because he's the leader of the team, and Will is a rookie quarterback that has not earned anything in this league to call out his offensive line.
Zach, you and I were at the dinner where Brian Callahan stood up in front of a bunch of Titans corporate sponsors and season ticket holders and said, unanimous selection for a captain's patch was Will Damn Levis, right? Like that.
Bryce Young is the captain. Come on,
but
who cares?
But
it doesn't matter.
No, hold on. But Will Levis is a leader of this team, and so Will Levis, he's playing like garbage. We know that, but Will Levis is a leader of the football team.
Correct, but no, there's context in that. You love context. Here's the context.
Sure.
Aaron Rodgers can call out Mike Williams for not running the right route and forcing him to throw an interception because Mike Williams not in the right spot, because Aaron Rodgers can do that. Will Levis hadn't earned a GD thing in this league to do that, so he's not going to do it, right? So, like, that is the context of him not calling out his offensive line. Aaron Rodgers may have done that, right? Because he's earned that. And there is that in this conversation of what Will Levis is saying. So instead of that, he blamed it on whatever. He blamed it on not being 100% healthy.
All right. So we're going to get to this question for the audience here. Was Will Levis's shoulder injury an excuse or a reason for his poor play versus the Colts? Was Will Levis's shoulder injury an excuse or a reason for his poor play against the Colts? I find this very fascinating because I don't know how people are going to go, because I could see how you could answer either way and be pro or anti Will Levis as the Titans quarterback. And so I think this is interesting. So Zach, I'll send you to the chat here in a second, but first I want to tell all of our friends about our new friends, T-Dot. Make sure that you can become a part of the solution to end littering across the state of Tennessee. Keep Tennessee beautiful. We can all do that by pitching in and helping out, because there's 88 million pieces of litter on our Tennessee roadways across the state. And T-Dot spends $23 million every year to help clean it up. And it's still a problem, but we can all join by stop littering, picking up litter when we see it, and by joining organized cleanups by T-Dot by visiting nobodytrashestennessee.com. That's nobodytrashestennessee.com. It's so easy for you. You go to the website, you find something on the calendar that fits your schedule, you sign up and you show up and you help keep Tennessee beautiful. It's great for your kids if you're looking for them to have some volunteer experience, to do some good things for the community. You can absolutely do that with T-Dot by joining the cause. Be part of the solution to end littering across Tennessee by visiting nobodytrashestennessee.com.
A to Z Sports powered by BetMGM. Download the BetMGM app today. Use the bonus code ATOZ Sports. If you are a new user, you get great promotion right there. And once you start using the app, you'll start to realize there's an opportunity to win a little bit of cash, a little cashola, and fill the pocketbook. The sportsbook board in Vegas is in Tennessee and has been. Download the the BetMGM app today on your Apple or Android app store.
All right, the question was, Will Levis's shoulder injury an excuse or a reason for his poor play versus the Colts? Excuse or reason for his poor play against the Colts? Zach, I will send you to the chat. What's everybody saying on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch?
Well, we got a lot of one words, and that one word
it's either
is
excuse or reason. There's only
is excuse. Well, we got a lot of one of those, not both. Okay. Well, we do have a both. Ashley, you can't say both. I can't even show you watch this show enough. Ashley, you can't say both. Let's see. Excuse from Mario. Excuse. IR. Clayton. Excuse. R. Excuse. Jason. Excuse. Seth. Duran. Connor. Carpet King just says garbage. Willie just says no. Soul Feels says excuse. So does Nav. Randy. Excuse. Brad. Excuse. King. Excuse. I mean, this is, I think, some frustration coming out in the fan base, obviously. AJ and James, because this is one-sided. So maybe this is on us for what the question represents. I'm not seeing a reason all told. John Des says reason. So I don't know if John truly believes that. John, if you want to give some reason, hey, the floor is yours, John, because we got all excuses like Anthony. We got two Anthonys back to back. Lane, I mean, excuse. So,
I did put up a poll on YouTube, and it's early. It's because I hadn't even shown like 1 minute ago. But there are some reasons on that.
Ed, yeah, some being like 4. A lot of excuses. So, do you agree or disagree with the chat's reason?
Because all right. I guess you want me to go first because I'm about to blow this thing up. Because I think it is Will Levis is bad. Will Levis has been bad the entire season. Will Levis is a bad quarterback right now. I don't think Will Levis is going to be a good quarterback in the future. That is my preface statement on Will Levis as the Titans quarterback. But I legitimately think his shoulder was causing some problems Sunday against the Colts. So, I mean, he was probably going to play bad with a healthy shoulder anyway. But I do think his shoulder was an impactful piece of this. So I will say reason, because I believe him when he says on a healthier day, he could get that football further down the sideline because it was very underthrown. Like Calvin Ridley, people question Calvin Ridley's effort to go back and make a play on the football. It was so far underthrown. He had no chance to stop and climb back to go up and get it and climb the ladder, because that safety had the easiest interception of his life because Will Levis, first of all, stared it down, which has nothing to do with his shoulder. But Will Levis is a bad quarterback, and his shoulder made him even worse because he was unable to make throws that he is typically physically capable of making. And so my vote on this question, which is interesting because this question, the answer to how you're answering the question does not mean you are pro or anti Levis. It's just focused about his shoulder and how it impacted the game. I think his shoulder injury is a reason why he played worse on Sunday versus the Colts and was unable to do some certain things. So I say reason.
Then did he, this is maybe rhetorical or unanswerable, but like, did he tell that to Brian Callahan?
I don't know. I mean,
isn't that important?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I don't know why you're coming after me.
That's why I prefaced.
But
these are open-ended questions that
Zach,
are.
I will. Okay, I'll answer your question with an example of, we can travel back in time. Let's go back into let's go to 2019, if you will. I don't know if you remember this. I'm sure you do. You probably remember what jerseys the Titans and the Bills were wearing. But it was like week 4 in 2019. Marcus Mariota was still the starting quarterback. The Titans lost to the Bills 14-7. Cairo Santos missed 4 field goals in that game. The 4th field goal that he missed was like a 57-yarder. And I remember in our post-game show at the time, I was like, Mike Vrabel said, yeah, he told me he could make it. Like, of course the kicker is going to tell the coach I can make it. Of course the player is going to tell the coach, yeah, coach, I can go out there and play, because they don't want the other guy to go out there and steal their opportunity and play better than them if they don't think they can fully do it. And so I believe Will Levis told Brian Callahan, yes, coach, I can go play, because Will Levis was telling that to Brian Callahan during the Miami Dolphins game.
Okay.
We all saw him on the sideline, right? Helmet on, looking like jacked up, ready to go. And the Titans were right to hold him out of the Monday night game where they won, and Rudolph basically had to hand the ball off. That was it.
All right. I'm glad you said that. Keep the same energy then. That's my problem.
Me?
No, I'm talking to Will Levis.
Oh.
Keep the same energy. After the game, if that's what it is, you can say, my shoulder definitely was, I felt it, but I have to make that throw. I mean,
he did say he wanted it back. Like, that's kind of like quarterback speak for.
You wanting it back is different than I have to make the throw. They're two different things. They're not the same. And so if you're at the podium and you've told your coach, if that is the case, that I can play, coach, put me in, I can make, because if you can't make all the throws in the NFL, you will get got 100% of the time. The error of difference is about that much. You don't get, the corners are too fast. They'll get you.
Except for Snead.
So if you cannot make the throw, then you don't need to be out there.
I agree.
If you are asked at the podium after the game about the shoulder, you can say what you say, but this is why I say it's an excuse, because You can't make excuses, right? Don't make excuses. I'll give you that my shoulder, I was definitely not 100%, right? But we knew he wasn't 100% on Tuesday. We knew he wasn't 100% on Thursday. We knew he wasn't 100% on Sunday, even before the kickoff. You can say that, but there needs to be a but, B-U-T, but I have to make that throw. Now, this show doesn't even happen. It's not even a topic. It doesn't even come to fruition, right? Like, he's admitting that was a bad throw, and he's not making the excuse that it was something else.
Sure. Like, and Zach, I agree. All the points that you said, I agree with, because guess what? Remember what I've been saying for now over a week. Mason Rudolph should have been playing in that game. That is why I think it's a reason. It makes so much logical sense that Will Levis isn't 100% healthy with his throwing shoulder 13 days after spraining his AC joint on his throwing shoulder. Like, it's Section 240 says, so then it can't be a reason. Yes, it can be, because his shoulder was injured in throwing shoulder 13 days ago. It can be a reason why he can't make the throws.
So whose fault is it that he's in the game? Is it Will Levis or is it Brian Callahan?
Ultimately, it's Brian Callahan's, because guess what the Indianapolis Colts did? And I want to bring up Top Tier's comment right here. Richardson wasn't ready yet, so he took a seat for the betterment of the team. Flacco gave them a better chance to win. Richardson did not take that seat. The Colts sat him down. If you go to the reporting Sunday morning, we all thought going into that game, it's going to be Anthony Richardson. It's going to be Levis versus Richardson, and we're going to see who messes up most. And it was going to be it's going to be a train wreck. But Sunday morning, Joe Flacco's a starter, Anthony Richardson inactive. Why? Because the Colts sat him down. There was reporting from the Colts media saying that they didn't want to push him. They didn't think he was fully ready yet to protect himself. Richardson wanted to go, but the Colts decided to give him another week and let Flacco go. In the pregame show, I said it's because the Colts are the more desperate team to win that game, because they know Flacco gives them a better chance. And I thought a healthy Rudolph versus a not as healthy as he should be or hope to be Will Levis gives the Titans a better chance to win, because Mason Rudolph doesn't throw that interception. Mason Rudolph is fully healthy. Mason Rudolph can execute the game plan to beat the worst defense in the NFL. And that is why I think it's a reason. It's ultimately on Brian Callahan and the Titans coaching staff for deciding to play Will Levis 13 days after he hurt his shoulder, his throwing shoulder, and the Colts made the right decision to sit their quarterback for another week to make sure that he can go out there and not hurt the team. I mean, that's how I feel about this.
I start Will Levis regardless. I didn't do the show last week. And I know your theory on it. Austin, this season is not about competing with the Houston Texans or the Baltimore Ravens or the Kansas City Chiefs. The Titans are so far from those three teams. They are in Jupiter. That's how far away that they are. So regardless, if Will Levis is telling you that he's healthy, he can play, the trainers are saying that, hey, he's okay, what you've seen with your own eyes, then you play him, because Will Levis does not have the benefit of the doubt of time. Okay? You have to get as much tape on him as possible, including if he's 99%, 89%, 69%. Doesn't matter. You have to get as much tape. That was why they started Will Levis, and that's why Will Levis, I would presume, is going to start this week.
Well, yeah, he's going to start this week. He's got an extra. He should start.
But wait, he just said he couldn't make all the throws. He wish we would have had it back.
He's got a whole week to get better. Like, that was my whole freaking point, is that give him 20 days of rest, not 13 days of rest.
He doesn't have the time.
Zach, here's again, this was my point when you weren't doing the show. That's fine. So just to reiterate this, I thought Mason Rudolph should start versus the Colts, because either quarterback should have been able to beat the Colts on Sunday. That's the fact. Their defense is awful. Their run defense, that statistically, they're the worst defense in the NFL.
That doesn't mean that the Titans should have beaten them.
Yes, they could have. Either quarterback could have.
Stop. You think the Titans are better than they are.
Stop. They lost by 3 because Will Levis was unable to execute and complete passes in the fourth quarter, and L'Jarius Sneed got beat. But
The
it was a 3.
Titans
Zach,
were
they had a
unable
fourth
to.
quarter lead. Like, that game was winnable. Like, if you think that game wasn't winnable, you're wrong.
I'm not saying it's winnable. You
So
said
stop
that
laughing
they
at me
should have
saying-
won.
Yes,
You're
they
expecting them to win. That's the problem. That's where I thought that you were off base from the start of the season.
Dude,
You
chill out.
expected
Like,
them to
can I
win
get to my point?
more games than they're.
I guess I know you haven't been on the show in a couple weeks, but you don't have to vomit all the words at one time. I'm trying to get through my point of my big picture viewpoint here, because the whole idea of evaluating Will Levis is for the big picture, not for week 6 versus the Colts, because you're talking about like they're on Jupiter. They're not even close to the other AFC South teams. Sure, but they're close to the Colts. The Colts are not a good football team either. But if you beat the Colts, you're 2-3. Now you're 1-4. It's a big difference in 2-3 and 1-4 in the NFL. And if you're 2-3, you have an opportunity to evaluate Will Levis when something actually matters, when the result matters. Because at this point, you might be evaluating Levis in December or even mid-November, and the Titans are so far out of it, who gives a damn? And there's no pressure, and he's probably going to go out there and play more free. And here's the thing. If the Titans are like 2-10 with a few games left, and Will Levis throws for like 15 touchdowns and a few interceptions, and the Titans win a couple games because he's playing loose and free because nothing is on the line, then how do you evaluate that? Because
you've already evaluated him. That's the point. That's why he has to play earlier in the season than late in the season. Because eventually this season's not going to matter. You were correct on that. You're going to get to a point in this season where it's not going to matter and the evaluation is over. That's why it is so important for Will Levis to play early on, because the most meaningful games are week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, week 5, right? You cannot sacrifice that. And he being Brian Callahan felt like Will Levis was healthy enough. You have to play him because you know what? There's not going to be another opportunity. They're going to draft another quarterback if he keeps it up.
And look, Section 240 says, let's stop thinking Levis is going to change. This is who he is. I agree. I totally agree. Levis is not good.
But you have to find out. That was a game that you could have found out.
I'm trying to extend the season because there are all these other guys out there that have their jobs that are trying to fight for something, and I think that you can extend the season. Yes, give your 2-3.
Austin, they play the Bills and the Lions back to back on the road. So if they were 2-3, let's say they win the game, and then all of a sudden they're 2-5, does that make a difference? That's what I'm saying, though.
It could, because you've got a divisional win and you got 5 divisional games coming, and you never know what's going to happen.
The Texans are what, 4-1 or 5-1?
That's fine.
What are you competing for? No, look at it.
In the hunt.
They're not good enough.
Okay.
So they need to find out as early as possible about Will Levis. They had to play him.
Okay, they did not have to play him because the Colts.
They should have played him.
Zach, the Colts are in the same spot with Anthony Richardson. They're trying to figure out what the hell he is, and they decided they had to win that game.
Time out. Wrong. They're not.
Yes, they are.
When was Anthony Richardson drafted?
In the first round.
When was Will Levis drafted?
In the second round.
They're not the same. That's the point.
They are. They kind of are, because
no, they are not.
Zach, do you know how much?
No. Will Levis costs exponentially less amount of money than Anthony Richardson. They don't have an option, and they can get rid of Will Levis a lot earlier. They are not hitched to the wagon, right? That's a top 5 pick the Colts made.
I'm aware of that.
That's different. They're not even close to being the same. So
they have to figure out if they want to.
The short game of figuring out who Will Levis is now more important to the Titans because they can cut bait and be okay.
For sure. I'm not denying that. This isn't about the situation.
That's why the Colts did what they did.
Dude, stop for a second. Take a freaking breath, man. The Titans are in that situation of right freaking now. I'm not denying that. But Anthony Richardson has gotten hurt in every other game that he's played. And so they've lost all that extra time. The Colts have lost the extra year of contractual control because Anthony Richardson's got hurt. They have to pay him like $25 million on a 5th-year option after year 3. And at this point, he's played like 6 games.
But there's a longer leash for Anthony Richardson than the leash for Will Levis. It's just the facts. They can play it longer. And here's the other caveat when we talk about the Colts. Joe Flacco is a better quarterback than Mason Rudolph, right?
Absolutely. Nobody says
so. So if Joe Flacco was the backup to the Titans, right? That's a different decision. Now we're having a different conversation. Joe Flacco did what he did last year for the Browns. Really, I mean, unbelievable comeback player of the year, right? But these are apples and oranges. They truly are. Where Will Levis, I think it was the right decision for the Titans to play Will Levis. They need to play Will Levis next week, the following week, the following week, the following week. So then they don't have to play him ever again or replace him. Or
I agree.
Better, and he beats the teams that he needs to beat.
God, jeez. Like, I feel like I know you're not. I know we don't talk on the show all the time.
No,
like you're yelling at me.
You think that Mason Rudolph should have played, and I disagree with
the Colts in one game.
That's my point. Is I'm disagreeing with that.
I think. Look, you can but like you're making the point that I also make. I'm talking about one game to allow Will Levis to be healthy for more games. I want to evaluate a healthy Will Levis.
I want to evaluate Will Levis.
Okay, one. My evaluation of Will Levis is done. I want the Titans to evaluate Will Levis, a healthy Will Levis, for 12 more games and not be injured or hurt or dealing with a throwing shoulder injury and let that thing heal. Okay? That is my point. And I thought the Titans had a better chance to win with Mason Rudolph because Will Levis leads the NFL with 10 turnovers in like 4.5 games. And that's bad. Obviously, we know that. So I also have a theory that we haven't gotten to yet because my theory is about the game plan. And I want to get to this here in a second about my theory on how the Titans did this. There's a way they are talking about that Colts game and Will Levis's health that I am going to have a theory on about Levis's health overall. But Zach, tell everybody about Farm Bureau Health Plans.
Yeah, FBHP.com/A to Z is where to go to get your health plan. Farm Bureau Health Plans have been a partner for A to Z for a number of years, including the Titans, including the Tennessee Volunteers, including the Nashville Predators. They are impactful in our communities, in and around the communities in the state of Tennessee. Over 200 plus locations, agents all over the state, health, dental, and vision. They've been in business over 75 years. Farm Bureau Health Plans is the place to go to at least get a bid on what your health plan would be. At least get a quote, right? There's nothing stopping you getting a quote and comparing it what you have currently, whether you are single, whether you're married with children, whether you got Phillip Rivers' number of children, which is a lot. They've got a plan for you, right? That's the beauty of it. That's Farm Bureau Health Plans of Tennessee, FBHP.com/ATOZ.
I wore my BetMGM shirt yesterday on a Monday because they whooped me over the weekend in college and pro football. But I've already used my first bet offer, but you guys still can sign up with BetMGM, the sportsbook born in Vegas, using our bonus code ATOZ Sports, and you get up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if your first bet misses. It's a great chance to take another swing at it. They've also got so many different odds tokens and boosts and parlay boosts and no sweat bets you can take advantage of as well throughout the pro and college season. So sign up with BetMGM, use our bonus code ATOZ Sports, up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if that first bet misses. So Zach, I believe the Titans' conservative game plan against the Colts had something to do with Will Levis's limited arm. So I'm going to play this video from Brian Callahan when he was asked about his play calling, and he brought up the conservative game plan on his own. The question was not about if the game plan was conservative. It was actually about if his play calling is about what he expected or if it's different than what he expected before the season started.
Yeah, I mean, that was obviously a conservative game plan style. I knew we were going to be able to run the ball well. I thought we did for the most part. Through 3 quarters, that game was about, what I thought it would look like. And it was, our defense was playing well. We were running the ball. We had 2 different 17-play drives. We scored off a turnover. We were playing the game in a way that I thought was good enough to win through that point. And then obviously didn't get it done. We got to find a way to finish in the fourth quarter. That's sort of been our issue over the course of the season so far in these tight games, is we haven't done enough on offense to go win a game, and you got to score more than 17 points. Your goal is probably always to try to get to at least 24. It's going to put you in pretty good position to win, and we haven't gotten that. So I don't know that I think every game is different. Every week is different. I would certainly like to be a lot better in the passing game than we've been, though. That's for certain.
Yeah, I think everybody would like to see this modernized passing offense not be the Mike Vrabel passing offense from the last 6 years, minus A.J. Brown and Ryan Tannehill going berserk a few years. So I think they were conservative, because there's also a phrase that Brian Callahan and Will Levis have used when talking about this, that he was healthy enough to win this game, because they went into this game against the Colts with a very conservative mindset on, we're going to run the ball a million times for a lot of yards and be very efficient in the run game and have short passes and be able to be efficient and execute those short passes and burn the clock. They got 2 drives of like 15 plus plays that ended in 10 points. So let's look at the passing chart, because this is Will Levis's passing chart against the Colts on Sunday. Look at, I want to point out some things. There's a lot of green dots behind the line of scrimmage. There's a lot of green dots within about 7 yards of the line of scrimmage. And there are 3 green dots beyond 10, all to the left. I want to point out the 2 deeper ones. The deepest one is the one that was complete to DeAndre Hopkins, where he ran out of bounds and he looked frustrated for himself having his momentum carried out of bounds. That says 25 yards down it was that, but it didn't feel like it. D-Hop retreated a couple yards. And then the second deepest green dot was the last play of the game when they threw the football to D-Hop and then they lateral a bunch of times into nothing. So look at all those short green dots, and let's take a look at the right side of the field. There's the interception deep down the field. That's the deepest ball that he threw. The second deepest ball that he threw also came flat on the right side. And all those intermediate to deep outside routes thrown to the right side. That screams to me he didn't have his shoulder strength. And if you go to the broadcast, Adam Archuleta, who is a former defensive back, I thought was really good, said on one of those right sideline white dots to Calvin Ridley, man, that ball looked like it just died. I don't know if he's got the strength to get it out there. And so I think the conservative game plan was because they didn't want to push the ball down the field. Because, Zach, how about this? The Colts defense in the 4 previous games that they played gave up career-high passing yards to Malik Willis, Caleb Williams, Justin Fields, and then Trevor Lawrence threw for 371 yards. Let's go back to this again. Will Levis threw for 95 yards. A big chunk of it came on the last play that led to laterals. I think the conservative game plan was because he wasn't fully healthy. Because if he was fully healthy, they are trying to take advantage of what the Colts defense has been piss poor at all season long. And Adam Archuleta said it too in the broadcast. The Colts struggled with outside throws to down the sideline. That is their weak spot, and the Titans could not complete it. Levis couldn't get it there to the right side of the field. He's a right-handed quarterback having to open up and go that way. The left side's a more natural throw for a righty like that. I honestly think that he wasn't healthy enough to make all the throws. They thought he was healthy enough to win the game, hand the ball off 30 times, and throw in short passes.
I think we agree that he was not 100%, and they were going to call the game because of that, right? Like the conservative, it's not a red flag that they were more conservative with a less than 100% quarterback. I don't know, and this is a practice thing, right? Like if he can't throw the ball to the right side of the field or is struggling with that because of his shoulder, that should be known internally, not obviously the Colts. The Colts figured that out during the game. Then then that needs to be dialed up, right? Your deep balls need to be on the left side, not the right side. And you said that the two deepest completions on the left side, one was the DeAndre Hopkins where he could have gotten more, and then the other one was a play that was useless.
It was, yeah.
All of his bad throws, and I don't know the ins and outs of what an AC joint on a throwing shoulder does to the throwing patterns, left versus right, right versus left, down the middle, where that is. I don't claim to be an expert on that. But Brian Callahan, that's something that you have to interview your quarterback on, right? That's where you have to, not only what he says, but what you see in practice of what he can do. And then those routes need to be on the left side, right? Or because you can get the ball to whatever side of the field that you actually want to, whether you're running crossing patterns, outs, deep posts on the other side. Whatever you're trying to do, you can do that. I think it's a theory, right? That's as you stated. I think there may be some legs to the theory. That's something I would like to unpack with Callahan. And that's quarterback and coach during the week, figuring out what he can and cannot do and trying to devise a game plan around it that ultimately didn't work. Because what you started with is like the Colts were bad at 1, 2, 3, right? Deep balls, bad rush defense, sideline
throws,
right? That's where you have to exploit. That's the premise of game planning, right? Week to week. Was that a poor coaching job or was it poor execution due to an injury? These are questions.
Yeah. So Jerome says, Austin, what game have you seen Callahan call that looked any different than this last game? This wasn't the game plan for the Colts. It's the game plan in general. Piss poor. No, what happened against the Jets? After Will Levis fumbled the ball away boneheadedly, trying to give it to Tajay, the next play was a play action deep shot to Burks. He also missed Calvin Ridley, a really beautiful throw to Calvin Ridley where it went right through his hands against the Jets. And then he hit Calvin Ridley for a 40-yard touchdown pass between Sauce Gardner and the safety. Didn't see any of that on Sunday versus the Colts. Let's go to the Bears game. He missed Calvin Ridley a couple times wide open, taking deep shots. They didn't take one. There was not one play action deep shot down the field. Again, I'll go back to the graphic. The biggest air yard throw was that DeAndre Hopkins. It was a corner route from the left slot, and he ran a nice route. And Levis, it was a routine corner route throw. It was a good throw. It was on time. It was layered. It had air. It was thrown with anticipation and everything. It was a good throw. But there had been a lot of shots down the field. Like the Bears, the Jets, the Packers game was just crazy. And
it's a good conversation because I'd follow up by saying, I feel like they're trying to figure Will Levis out without disrupting his progress, right? Deep balls are 50-50s at times, right?
Mm-hmm.
Good throws, maybe they're 60-40 on either side, but I feel like they're trying to get Will Levis in a balance because the first several games, he was super aggressive and you got those successful plays, but you also got the bad plays that comes with it. I feel like or felt like the injury has something to do with it, but what they're trying to get Will Levis to do is kind of come down a little bit, right? And play a little bit more baseline and try to find his baseline than the extremes, because we know what the extremes have done in the first several weeks of the season. You've seen good, but the bad are destroying him. So I think that's what Brian Callahan probably, when the conservative, I agree with you with the injury, right? That comes into play. But I think the conservative in nature was something, Mason Rudolph, when he came in against the Dolphins, that was conservative, right?
The Dolphins had nothing. Right?
They had a lead. They played the game the way that they were supposed to, right?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's what Brian Callahan would like to have Will Levis settle into, where he can take his deep shots, but it's not as many as the beginning of the season, and then eliminate his bad plays, which there's been quite a bit of.
And it was working until they were down 20-17. And then they had to throw the ball and they could not throw the ball. And Anthony says, so what you're saying, Austin, is the coach knew that the shoulder was still an issue and called a conservative game. So our coach is a liar who doesn't seem to know what he's doing. No, I'm not calling Brian Callahan a liar. I'm not. But I do think he worded his phrases and his answers very specifically, saying that Will Levis was healthy enough to win that game, to make the throws for that game plan. And when they had to get out of the game plan a little bit, when they were down in the fourth quarter and they had to go get yards to score points, and Will Levis made a throw to most of those white dots on that right sideline are a lot of the Calvin Ridley targets that, especially the two on the very far wide, those are Ridley targets that he had no chance of catching. That were just died in the air and nearly bounced to him and almost got picked off or tipped. I think Brian Callahan knew they could control the clock, which they did, and be in a good spot to win. But once the game plan got thrown out the window, Will Levis had to strain and took that shot down the field, couldn't get enough on it, and it was picked off.
Yeah, and ultimately, unfortunately, it cost him the game, right?
Yeah.
Being down is not this team's forte, right? Like
just like it was with Derrick Henry, right?
Yeah, and you thought they'd try to change that. At least they tried to attempt.
But Will Levis doesn't seem like he can execute that, healthy or not.
Not so far.
No. Let's get to some super chats here. And Anthony says, why'd the game plan change when you're down 3? I don't know. Good question, because I had the same thing. I had the same thought. They didn't need to do it, but they did it anyway. Sightseeing says, last season in the second half of Green Bay, we saw Levis Hop connection. Why doesn't this team make that their go-to? The modern offense is just running Tony Pollard, which is what I thought the Titans moved on from. That's kind of what we were hitting on there. Like, because right now Will Levis can't execute consistently and Tony Pollard can. The offensive line is a better run blocking unit than they are pass protection unit as of right now. And Tony Pollard's good. And that's how you protect Will Levis.
I also want to bring this up because I don't know if you touched on this yesterday. I mean, I'm not going to say anything that is crazy, but like they have a right tackle problem, right? I mean,
less problematic Sunday with Leroy Watson than it was against NPF, but still a problem.
Well, costly penalties.
Yeah, I mean, they overcame 2 of his penalties. 15 yards of his penalties didn't matter because Tony Pollard scored on a surrender draw.
So that's why they're leaning into Tony Pollard, is because they need to lean into whatever they can have success with. And yeah, again, the Calvin Ridley, there's no excuse to not get him involved all of the time. You saw what the Jets did last night with Garrett Wilson. I know they didn't win, but they got him involved, right? That was the game plan. You could tell that early and often. Mm-hmm. They have to do that with Calvin Ridley. And I think that will open things up for DeAndre Hopkins. But Ridley needs to be first. DeAndre Hopkins is hurt. Or
I don't think he is anymore. I think he's fine.
Let's say he's not. Okay. He's not 100%. Fair? DeAndre Hopkins is not 100%.
Okay.
So what I'm saying is Calvin Ridley is.
Yes.
That's who you need to lean into. And they need to do that. Tony Pollard and Calvin Ridley should be your 2 top targets to start and finish the game. And then this is where coaching comes in. You figure out where those matchups are leading the defense to then exploit Chigakonkwo or D-Hop or,
Tyler Boyd.
Tyler Boyd, right? Though that's how it should work. It's not.
All right. King VC says, lock in, like the show. Yep. If you haven't yet, please hit the like button. That goes a long way for us, helps us with the algorithm. He follows it up by saying, let me explain why it's an excuse for Levis. He padded the ball like 3 times in that throw. He's made the same throws all season when healthy. Look, yeah. And I again, he threw the pick because he stared the guy down and waited. And then it was a short underthrown football. So look, I agree. Will Levis stared the guy down. So that's a problem. Sightseeing comes in and says, Todd freaking Downing had Levis and Hopkins looking more modern last year than anything this current team is doing. Well, I'll tell you this, Sightseeing. Todd Downing was not with the Titans last year. That would be Tim Kelly. Todd Downing was fired the year before that. So Tim Kelly and had Levis and Hopkins doing some things, but Todd Downing was in the Jets where he is now. Connor says, it's clear the coaches don't trust Levis. Look at the game plan. If he was competent up to Sunday, then the shoulder isn't an excuse. But he wasn't. The Titans are 1-4. He needs to let it fly, or what's the point? What do you think about the letting it fly, or what's the point? Like, I agree. There's no further reason to be conservative. Like, if Will Levis is fully healthy and can make all the throws, there is no reason to be conservative. Which is why
depends on his injury, right?
Yeah, which is why I think he's not fully healthy, and they were conservative because of the shoulder.
We'll find out. These are the two back-to-back, I don't want to say most difficult games of the season, but at Buffalo and at Detroit. And Detroit's playing some of the best football in the league. And if you don't score 30 points against Detroit, you ain't going to win. And the Titans don't score 30 points.
They do once. They only do against the Dolphins.
Yeah, on a fluke. That's like one of those that, like,
no, I'm saying no. The last two
every
times,
squirrel finds a nut.
Only against the Dolphins. They average like 29.5 points a game their last 3 games against the Dolphins. And they're all 3 wins. Outside of that, they don't score.
So I'll say this before we go into Super Chats and Shade. The Titans are about to be, or could be, in a very bad situation of the season, losing the season in that sense. And they have got to upset one of these two teams. Like, that's their only way, because if they get to a 1-win team and now all of a sudden they're 1-7, not now you're
they're saving grace. Their saving grace is that the Patriots come to town after the Lions.
Yeah, but there's enough time for Drake May. He threw 3 touchdown passes. He made some really good throws. I watched that Patriots game. That was not enough for the Texans because they couldn't stop them running the football. But
the Titans can win that game then.
Drake May made some good throws.
All right, we do have some breaking news in the NFL. Zach, have you seen it yet? Do you want to guess? Big.
Did somebody get fired?
No. Big breaking news. Huge. A reunion. Breaking news.
Bill Belichick.
No. What would Bill Belichick be reunited with?
The Jets.
The Jets did something. The Jets are involved in this breaking news. The big reunion. Massive breaking news with the Jets. A reunion on the Jets with the quarterback involved.
Of course, the quarterback's involved.
And there's a reunion. There's a guy
Nathaniel Hackett's the head coach.
No, but somebody requested a trade who's got a lot of history with Aaron Rodgers.
Devontae Adams.
Devontae Adams traded to the New York Jets.
That's a desperate football club.
A conditional 4th rounder going to the Raiders that becomes a 2nd based on certain performance. So I saw Jordan Schultz had it first, and then I see everybody else afterwards. So,
man, if the Jets would have won last night, that would have been a lot better. But Mike Williams is dog. Dude, Mike Williams blows.
Oh,
did you like that? Was infuriating. I picked the Jets to win last night. That's why. But he's bad. Like, he had some glimpses in LA and he cannot be trusted. Traylon Burks, Mike Williams.
Oh, no. Mike Williams is so much better than Traylon Burks.
No. I'm saying that's the draft.
No.
Corey Davis. No. That's Corey Davis. Who was the third?
John Ross.
John Brown.
John Ross. John Brown is different too.
Yeah.
John Brown actually pretty good player.
John Ross, nowhere to be seen.
No, John Ross is with the Philadelphia Eagles wearing like jersey number 39.
It's a bold strategy. So Devontae Adams, well, he won't run the wrong route, at least.
No. Mm-mm. All right. So more super chats to get before shade. Darren says, I can let Austin off the hook. This is the NFL. 100% healthy evaluation does not even exist. Levis plays till the wheels come off, right to the draft. Now, I think like when you're talking about a quarterback's throwing shoulder, that is something to protect. Like, and I've said this over the 2 weeks after the shoulder injury. If this was a non-throwing arm issue, then yeah, Will Levis can fight through it and play through some pain. But because it's his throwing shoulder, I think it should be treated differently. Am I crazy by thinking that way?
Will Levis said that he had enough to play at a high level.
I know. He had enough to win the game with that game plan, but the game plan wasn't good enough to win the game when they had to have it.
But going
the
into
results show
the
that he
game,
wasn't, though.
Well, yeah, but you don't find that out until you actually play.
Hashtag QJ. So when is it fair to evaluate Callahan? Is he the QB guru, as some say, or is he pacified by Peyton, Stafford, and Burrow? That's a great question.
I'll answer it. Yeah.
Not
When
yet.
is it fair to evaluate Brian Callahan? After he's been through another quarterback.
I think yes, but when will that happen? And I think that goes to Jeffrey's super chat. It says bench Levis, trade for Jameis Winston. You're going to lose anyways, but at least Winston will make it entertaining while losing.
No, look, the plan is Will Levis is going to be the starting quarterback for the foreseeable future this year.
We'll see.
Because there's no point if you're 2-7, there's no point of playing Mason Rudolph.
I don't want to say too much, but I've got more theories up my sleeve. It's cold outside, so I've got long sleeves on today. So
Right.
there could, and I'm not going to say anymore. I'm going to keep it disciplined and save and tease you guys for a later day. All right, Zach, you ready for a little shade?
I am.
Let's do it. Wilson County Hyundai, make them a part of your new car buying process. Go see them in Lebanon or online at wilsoncountyhyundai.com. If you need a new ride, that's where to save some money. Throw in some shade. If you want to throw shade, please do it. Send it in the chat with some shade. I do have to get Andre's last super chat in here. Should have passed on QB after missing Stroud when they thought about trading up. Going back to that draft, Williams and Daniels look good. May just flash and have yet to see Michael Penix. Always missed the quarterback. Andre says he called it from a couple of years ago. Yeah, I mean, I said if the Titans weren't willing to take Will Levis at 11 overall, then they truly weren't 100% for sure that he was the guy. If you felt like you could pass on the franchise quarterback once, that leaves some doubt. That's just my stance from a couple of years ago. All right, shade time. Let's see. Jeff says shade on Austin and his co-host for going on tangents during shade and good news and only reading one from the chat. Yeah, we got distracted last week. Good news, we got off the rail on some random tangent. I forget what it was. Same thing with shade happens last week, but we'll be better. We'll coach better, play better. So throw in shade. Do you see some shade in the chat to get to here, Zach?
Let's see. Scrolling through.
I see one. Jill, my shade is on Zach. No more HOA updates. What gives?
Well, Jill, there's still hope because I still own the townhome that was my previous residence. So I'm not going to be on the HOA.
They're not done with
board.
you yet. They're not done with you yet. They thought they were done with you, but not so fast.
Look, once the entire board got impeached, and I didn't handpick the new board, but I was definitely influential on the new board. I like the new board.
So you were more influential in the HOA board than Aaron Rodgers was in Robert Saleh getting fired?
Yes, very
allegedly.
very much so. And the neighborhood has improved since the shakeup. And now I don't have an HOA. I do have house shade that we'll get to, but the stories hopefully will be less now that that's changed.
Jonathan says shade on Austin for thinking Canada has a president. I was reading a comment from the chat of like somebody said he was the Canadian president. So yeah, I don't know who the Canadian prime minister or whatever their official title is on their door to their office. Vanessa says shade on Amy. Tell us what's going on. I didn't keep throwing that shade. Ain't going to happen. Let's see. Andre says shade on Zach having less airtime than Easton. Well, Easton's doing a good job. Let's see. Demetrius says shade on Nashville media and the law enforcement trying to tie the shooting on Jefferson Street to Tennessee State homecoming. They're better than that. Like, I don't know enough about that to have an opinion. Colton says trade Diop, whatever else, the Lions for Hooker. I thought that was a shade. Sorry. I read trade, thought it said shade. Zach, do you see any other shades here to get to?
Now I'll get to my shade.
Okay.
It's, I guess, a somewhat of a string of house shades. So we'll start with the move. Higher movers, and look, non-discriminatory. I'm not discriminating, but they basically, a 17-year-old kid shows up and a female mover. Well, the table that I have is too heavy for the female mover. So I have to move it. I, with the 17-year-old kid, have to move the table out of my house and then into the new house. That's not what we pay for, right? Like, get the movers at least to be able to move. So move into the house, then internet. Get internet set up. Internet only works in half the house. And the most important side of the house, at least for internet and my purposes, well, there's two important places: the living room with the TV and my office, and they're in the other ends of the house.
Yeah, so the other people in the home can watch TV in peace while you're yelling in your office.
Exactly. It's strategic, right? I'm downstairs. I'm fine. Like, that's the whole point, right? I do probably need to get some like things on these walls so I don't echo, but internet, it doesn't work. Like, I don't get it. It cuts off. Like, I had zero internet in this office. So I call, I'll just call it, I call Xfinity, and they are going to have to make me pay $100 to have them come out. Oh, screw that. No way. After like my fourth call. So then I get Google Fiber, right? That makes more sense. Now, luckily, Google Fiber comes out and hooks it up. The problem is the guy doesn't know what to do. I have to get on the phone with his manager, and I've got to put extenders on the house. Like, he was there for 3.5 hours. We got the internet now in both sides of the house, but the fact that I'm doing the Google Fiber's guy's job, he didn't know how to reset the modem. Like, it struggled. And then my third and final shade, and I think this is something that you understand that I haven't. Dude, grass grows pretty quick. Like, I've got a yard now that I didn't necessarily want a yard. I have a yard now. Go out and I buy weed eater, blower, push lawn. It's not that big of a yard. And I mow it. Last Saturday morning, I get up before the football games. I'm like, God, thank God that's done. All right, it looks better. I wake up the next Saturday and I'm like, this thing needs mowing again. So then I got to mow the damn thing again. And I'm
Zach,
like, now I'm in fear of waking up on Saturday. And then my buddy's the guy who sold me the house, my realtor, great realtor, comes in and he's like, well, you know what? My buddy's got an aerator. You need to fertilize your yard. And I don't know anything about
that time of year, man. It's October. It's time to aerate and oversee.
Like, we're got a group of guys that are going to rent an aerator. You want to in? I'm like, sure, I guess. And then he's like, he texts me. He's like, dude, make sure you water your yard this week so it's soft when the aeration goes through. I'm like, water my yard. So yesterday, I get up early and I'm watering my yard, feeling like an effing idiot, to be honest, because I don't do any of this stuff. I'm watering my yard, and my whole thing is I'm thinking, this is just going to make the grass grow quicker. I don't like this. Now I'm going to have to mow it quicker. So those are my shades from the house. Overall, I love the house. Like, I love the house. The house is amazing. We got really lucky with the house. Love the house. But all of the things that come with it, I was ill prepared for. I will admit that, and I'm usually a pretty prepped guy. So those are my experiences.
So funny.
Now I need a sprinkler system. So
Here's Like how long did you sit there and stand and hold the hose with your thumb over it to water the
Well, I got a
yard?
backyard and a front yard, so
You just need to get a sprinkler. You don't need a sprinkler system installed
But he
underground.
texted me yesterday morning at like 6:30.
Yeah, you know,
so I was
Zach,
like,
do you
okay,
know what,
I need
do
to
you
go.
know what Home Depot is? Like that.
Well, I
you
have
can-
a hope, but look, it was 6:30, right? And I had
It
meetings
opens
and
at
so-
7. Like Home Depot opens early on Saturdays for
Yeah,
these
again,
reasons.
my schedule was not. I couldn't do that yesterday morning, so I was like, I ordered a hose. You know, one of those the online hoses that like squunch up. I can't remember what it's
like
called.
the scrunchy hose.
Scrunchy hose, whatever,
Yeah.
right? So I was like, oh, this gives me a new opportunity to test out this new hose. I feel like an idiot. I cannot say that enough. So then I'm watering my grass. My backyard, nobody sees anything. Like that doesn't really matter. Then I got to move it to the front. And now it's 7 a.m. or whatever. And I'm mowing, I'm watering this grass. And I'm just thinking of all my neighbors that I have not met yet with
look
like
at this
binoculars
bozo.
saying, what in the hell is this new guy doing? Like,
Yeah.
he's watering his grass. It's October.
No, it's actually the perfect time to like.
I know, but I don't know that. Like,
yes, but they should. But it's the fact of like you're just standing up there hand watering your yard.
yeah. So
It's so funny.
and there's like a big house. There's a big ass house across the street, and they've got a sprinkler system because it's a big house, expensive house. So I'm looking there, and I'm like, well, these people have a sprinkler system.
Hey, you guys
I
wanna
need
point-
a sprinkler system. So those are. I didn't mean to take over the shade.
no.
That's a lot. There's a lot going on.
How often do you get a haircut, Zach?
Too often, every couple of weeks.
Yeah, that's about how often you're gonna have to cut that grass.
Not every week though, Austin. This is a Saturday to Saturday.
Well, there's also this thing that happened called hurricanes that came through. They bring a lot of water. That makes the grass grow faster. So yeah, sometimes hey, guess what? I didn't have to mow my yard the entire month of August because it rained 0 times. So sometimes that happens. But you're about to get out of it.
We'll find out. So,
Man, shade. I actually feel like I don't have a ton of shade other than the anxiety that I always get watching Tennessee play Florida. And I want to say this. My shade is going to be on the Tennessee fan that is not allowing themselves to enjoy the win over the Florida Gators, because you should. It was ugly. It was stressful. You should have beaten them by more. You were a 2-touchdown favorite for a reason. But the Tennessee Vols have only beaten the Florida Gators 3 times since 2005. A lot of things have happened, Zach. There's an iPhone did not exist in that point. So there's been 3 times in 20 years that you have beaten this team, and you haven't done it twice in back-to-back home games since 91 and 92. Like Philip Fulmer didn't even do that. Josh Heupel did. Just enjoy a win over Florida. A win over Florida is always going to be ugly. It's never going to be fun, but it's always going to be beautiful. So that is my shade. Enjoy the win over Florida. It's Tuesday. We can focus on the Alabama game tomorrow, but still give yourself the opportunity to enjoy the win over the Gators. And here's another shade side. If Billy Napier was my coach, I would be irate at all times. That guy has no clue. No clue.
he's not going to be there for long.
He shouldn't be there now, but he is.
Yeah, but they're waiting. It's
They're
only
just-
a matter of time.
He would make me so frustrated. So frustrated. So that is my shade. Man,
There you go.
I can't wait for it to continue to get a homeowner yard dad Zach out there. More updates.
Well, now again, I'm gonna have a lot more grass too. At least
Just make sure you don't mow the grass in shoes you care about. By the way,
no, I've already gotten my sacrificial shoes. I did do that.
Okay.
I Amazoned a workbench just to put crap on in my garage. This is not how I expected it, but here we are.
Hey, you're just becoming the Geico commercials, just like that.
I know. I didn't think that would happen.
It happens to us all. All right, guys, make sure you hit that like button, like the show before you hop out of here on Facebook and on YouTube. Goes a long way for us. So hit the like button for us, please. Buck Riot. Nope. Sam Phelan live tonight. It's a Tuesday. Sam Phelan live tonight, A to Z Sports Prime Time at 7. And we'll catch you guys tomorrow morning on a Wednesday. Appreciate it as always.
Adios.